Hello and welcome. My name is Maria Marcano and I am the Burnout Repair Coach. In this segment, we talk about all things burnout with the intention that you'll be able to repair, prevent, and reverse the physical, mental, and emotional damage that can come from career burnout. We hope that you'll be able to regain your vitality, your joy, your health, and mental focus, and learn that you can be successful without breaking your body or your relationships in the process. Now, today's topic is one that I know you thought about many times. It is energy. When people come to work with me, the top complaint is that they don't have energy. They've always come to me, and one of the top 3 things that they want to gain is energy. Because most of people, when they arrive at this burnout state, you wake up and you're actually already tired without having done anything. And it seems like whatever you do, it doesn't really last. Even if you get a little peak of energy, it just drops immediately. So I know this is important for everyone, and I want to make sure that I address something that most people don't think about when they think about energy. See, we think about getting energy. Like energy is something outside of us and we're missing it. So we're always searching for sources of energy. And I want to challenge that thought and invite you to think about energy as something that you actually produce. And think about yourself as an energy plant, or maybe one of those solar power automobiles that work and create their own energy. That is you. You actually are a high-performance machine, a high-performance vehicle. The problem is not that you're not necessarily getting energy. The problem is you are blocking the ability to create energy within your body, within your technology. And you might think, how am I blocking my ability to create? If you are a power generator, how am I not creating energy? Well, one of the ways that you're doing this is because of your toxic load. So yes, I'm talking about toxins. What is a toxin? Well, the toxin can be defined in simple ways as an external item, an external thing, but also can be a thinking or a mental external item that causes in your body stress or disrupts the natural flow or the natural working of your organs or your systems. So think about it as an intruder, something it's inside of you that does not belong there. And we live in a very toxic world these days. It's almost impossible not to be exposed. And I know that you don't want to live in a bubble, neither do I. So what can you do? The first thing is I want you to realize what are those toxins within you? How are you actually perhaps looking for energy, but instead you are blocking your ability to create energy? Again, most high achievers are always chasing energy, and the way they chase energy is inefficient. So this machinery now is dirty, is polluted, and on top of that, we are using cheap fuel. So you cannot get the high performance from this machine if you're working this way. One of these blockages or cheap fuels is caffeine. This is, I know, everybody does it. It's either the latte or the cappuccino, maybe the energy drink, which now combines the second item, which is sugar, because energy drinks are what? Sugar and caffeine. There's also using refined carbohydrates in order to get a sugar high, but then after all things that go up must come down and you have the crash. So truly, it does not work. Also, using things like processed foods through the day is cheap fuel. When you eat fast foods or you eat foods that are highly processed in front of your desk because you don't have time to eat, this is not providing your high-performance vehicle with the best fuel and is loading it with a lot of toxins. Toxic exposure, yes, can come from foods, but also can come from your daily life. Things like the cosmetics that you use, your personal hygiene products, even the things that you use in your household to clean the house. And on top of that, you have to think about the quality of water that you drink and how much of what you eat, and maybe even your water comes in plastic, because that is coming into your body as well. Another thing that most people don't even consider is how much time you spend indoors. This means that you're not breathing fresh air. I don't know if you ever heard of the term sick building or sick building syndrome. This is a real thing where when there's a lot of people in the same building, and obviously what you're breathing is air conditioning, what you are actually doing is recycling. So whether there are germs or viruses or whatever it might be, I don't want you to freak out, but you have to think about all of that is being recycled in that air. So not going outside and breathing fresh air is actually a toxic behavior. And not having exposure to sunlight is not beneficial because vitamin D is incredibly important for the health function of your brain as well as your immune system. So how do you get vitamin D? The best way is getting out in the sun at high times for about 30 minutes. And let's face it, who is doing that? Most of us are not. The other two things that I want to point out that might be blocking that energy from being produced in your body is poor gut health or digestive issues. If you have digestive issues, especially if they're chronic, there is a high possibility that you're not absorbing your nutrients well. And with malabsorption, it's like even if you're eating really good, you are not taking in the real fuel from these foods. And so then you are underperforming because you're not getting these nutrients. The last thing is more of a mental toxin, and it's what I call excessive stimuli. So this is when you are always receiving information. You're always in front of a screen. You're always looking at your phone. There's always sounds or music or podcasts. There's not enough silence in your life. And then perhaps the information that you're receiving, you're not filtering it well. And you're receiving a lot of what I will call toxic information, which is when the information that you receive is mainly negative. There's not enough good news in your life. All of these are ways that you are zapping your energy. The energy is not becoming available to you. And in turn, you are feeling tired and heavy and older than you really are. Now, let's say that you think about all these things that I told you, and you're not sure yet if you really have that much going on, and there might be another reason why you're so tired. So I really want to make a point. So let's look at possible signs of a heavy toxic load. And remember, I'm talking about both mental and physiological toxins. So if you experience excessive allergies and a lot of sinus issues, that is actually a sign of inflammation. So if you have excessive, like if you're suffering in the spring and you always have sinus issues, then that might be a sign of toxic load. Headaches and migraines, another sign of inflammation. So anytime there is chronic inflammation, it's worth to consider that there is a toxic load that's not beneficial to us. Having brain fog, I know, we hate it when you forget something. Where did I put my keys? What was I doing? What was I doing next? What's the next thing I wanted to do? All of this, it feels like aging moments, but they're not aging moments. It is that your mind, your brain is declining in its efficiency. This can very well be a sign of toxicity, especially if there are neurotoxins present. Things like having mood imbalances. All of a sudden you feel too anxious, too stressed. You feel like these events would feel almost like you're depressed, or you have bursts of anger. You might think that this is only mental, but in truth, this can be a sign of toxicity in your gut because so much of your mood is regulated in your large intestine. Having fatigue, obviously, we're talking about that, about being tired all the time. That is a sign of toxicity. Hormonal imbalances. I think sometimes we think about hormones only around our sex hormones, but I want you to think beyond that. Sleep disorders can be caused by hormonal imbalances. Also, disorders around weight loss or weight gain, like thyroid imbalances. There are things that are called hormone disruptors, and those are toxins that get on the way of your beautiful vehicle performing well in the area of endocrine health. Also, sugar cravings. Yes, sugar and carbohydrate cravings oftentimes are a sign of toxicity. And how that works is because if your gut gets populated by non-beneficial bacteria, you are going to start to feel like you want to eat more of those foods because that is the preferred food of the non-beneficial bacteria versus the good bacteria that you want to have. And so you want to think about, maybe my cravings are not mine. There's creatures that are toxic to me that are making me eat this way. And the last one is autoimmune issues or flares. So autoimmune imbalances can be some very common ones like eczema or psoriasis. Asthma is an autoimmune imbalance. There's Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but then there's also some more severe ones like Crohn's disease or IBS, all of which are connected to an imbalance in our gut and our immune system and excessive inflammation, which oftentimes can be improved if we lowered our toxicity. Aches and pains, big one. So if all of a sudden you're feeling like you are 20 years older than you are, you gotta watch out for that. So what can you do to get more energy? Yes, there's many things that you are now doing, but if you're not reducing your toxic load, you're truly not going to experience vitality. And this is the difference between having an energy kick from something caffeinated or something sugary, or maybe even a supplement that promises you to give you more energy, or one of those energy shots that's short-lived, that truly is not vitality. Vitality stays with you, is sustainable, and it does not feel wired, and you do not crash at the end. So I want you to have more real energy in the form of vitality by reducing your toxicity. Like I said, most people that work with me, they come incredibly fatigued. Even the coffee or the energy drink does not work anymore. This is what happens when you get to burn out. Ultimately, your adrenal glands no longer can keep up with the levels of both toxicity and stress in your life. And no matter what you do, it's almost like a battery that won't longer start no matter how many times you try to jump it. It's done. You have to do something else. So one of the number one things I do with them is to improve their energy immediately so they can feel motivated and then keep going forward with the rest of the work by giving them the option of detoxing, removing toxins. In my case, I call this the transformation, and the immediate result outside whatever might be happening in their bodies, perhaps, let's say on the physical appearance, is the energy. That's what everyone loves it. This is how you can do a basic transformation on your own. First thing I do is I guide them to move to plant-curious eating. You might want to consider even going plant-based, but that's not necessary. What plant-curious means is that you're going to increase the number of foods that are plants, so fruits, vegetables, herbs, seeds, and nuts, and reduce your animal foods to the lowest that you can possibly do. Why? Because animal protein is some of the hardest foods to digest. Sometimes it takes days, yes, days, for you to digest a piece of meat. This is energy that is used for digestion, and it's no longer available for the other things that you want to do in life. So it's not an efficient way of eating. Also, on top of that, most animal foods in this country are loaded with antibiotics and hormones. And I told you earlier about hormonal disruptors. Now, if you move into a more plant-based, plant-curious diet, you now need to take it to the next level. What would be that? That is choosing organics produce. Because, again, we are now faced with the reality that most produce in this country is polluted and sprayed with hundreds of chemicals, specifically one known as glyphosate, which has been connected to a lot of health issues. Some of them degenerative mental and nervous conditions, as well as something related to cancer. So what can you do? Be proactive and buy organic so your food is clean and you have less toxins coming in. Another thing is obviously reducing those processed foods, those foods that have artificial colors, artificial ingredients, preservatives, they might have hormones, irradiated ingredients, and all this that is known in my world as frankenfood that really isn't food. So you want to lower this and bring it to a minimum so your body is not with the burden of having to now deal with this. I want you to understand that just like activity outside of you is stressing, like you might know people that stress you out or events that stress you out because they're nerve-wracking. Food does that with the body. It really literally stresses it out when it has to fight for its survival. So you put yourself in survival mode internally. I want you to think about that. Another thing you can do is start optimizing your digestion because you want to absorb all the goodness that you eat. You can do this by taking probiotics, prebiotics, and digestive enzymes. So this good fuel that you're now choosing is going to work for you. So optimizing digestion is super important too to improve your immune system and your mood. And then the last thing, actually there's two more, but one thing that I want to bring to your attention, if you are not yet using green juices, specifically the superfood green juices, so these are juices that come from grasses like wheatgrass or oatgrass, alfalfa grass, barley grasses, you are missing out on a great opportunity to help your body every day. Because I know we're not perfect and there'll be days where you're not going to eat as good. So this is going to work as a maintenance way to flush toxins on a daily basis so you never get a backlog. And if you're not able to juice or you don't have a juice bar near you, just opt for dehydrated forms of these, including now the algae like spirulina or chlorella, and just buy something that's high quality, it's organic, and doesn't have artificial ingredients that you can just mix with water and go. Now, we talked a lot about food, but I want you to think about your other toxins, which are mental toxins. And I'm going to suggest that you practice something that I call a mental curfew. And a mental curfew, it's a curfew that you're going to use to no longer take information, like a mental break. This is you no longer watching the news, you no longer watching TV, you no longer checking your emails, checking your cell phone, your social media. More or less is screens off. And you want to do that in the evening and also first thing in the morning. Don't grab your cell phone first thing in the morning. Allow your body to be still. Allow your body to not have to depend on always this stimuli. It truly will make your brain function much better. Your emotions will be more in balance. So these are all things that you can easily start doing. As I always say here, don't try to tackle them all at once. I know high performers try to do that, would like to do it and would like to do it right, but it's not necessary. Maybe pick 2 or 3 things, start, and as you go through them and they become more natural and they settle in your daily life, then you start applying the other ones. If you're stuck, ask for help. These are new activities and there's no reason why you need to do this alone. So remember, if you want more energy, you need to remove the blocks of this energy from being within you. You want to be that vehicle that creates energy in its own. And this way, you're never going to end up burnout. Because burnout is not necessary. You can be successful without breaking your body or your relationships in the process. Thank you.